This is where I'd start if I knew what I know now. Hello, my name is Elis. I'm a qualified accountant and I make videos about everything to do with personal finance, life, business, and anything that you guys ask for. Investing can be quite an overwhelming topic for a lot of people, like where do I invest, which accounts do I need, how much do I invest, what do I invest in. So this is where I'd start if I knew what I know now. Number one is to open up a retirement account. If you're a 9-to-5 employee, chances are that your employer is already offering a pension scheme. Employer-based pension schemes are essentially a pension pot that both the employee and the employer are contributing into, and the proceeds are then reinvested into income-generating or appreciating assets, e.g. stocks and shares and bonds. The contributions are based on a certain percentage of your pre-tax income. So, for example, you might decide to contribute 5%, the employer might contribute 3%, etc., etc. However, 9 companies out of 10 in the UK will match your pension contribution. So, if you decided to invest 5% of your pre-tax income, your employer will also contribute 5% of your pre-tax income. Therefore, your gross contribution to your pension pot is actually 10% of your pre-tax salary. This is few reasons why I really love starting with investing into pension schemes and pension pots. Number one, it is actually forcing you to save and invest money for your future, which you cannot touch. Now, talking from experience, I can't stress enough how many times I actually invested money in a investment account with the idea for it to be for a retirement and the future, and I actually ended up withdrawing it and spending it and not having anything to show for it. So my number one reasons why I love pension pots is the fact that you can't actually access it for until you are in retirement age or the retirement age that you choose. I think here in the UK, the earliest you can do is around 57. I will put it up here on the screen, but it is the best way to ensure that you have a savings pot that you cannot access and it's not going anywhere. Number two, as I mentioned before, is the employer contribution. As I said, 9 companies out of 10 here in the UK will match your contribution of however much you decide to invest in your pension. If you decided to invest 5%, they would normally also invest 5%, so your gross contribution will be 10% of your annual pre-tax income. This is literally free money. What is not to love about this? I would even advise people who have not signed up for a pension for one or another reason, even if you're still paying off debt. I know Dave Ramsey, quite popular with his radical views on personal finance, says that pause investing until you pay off your debt. But if you are having free contribution, just imagine how much that compounds in the span of your whole working life. Maybe you work for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So just imagine how much free money you can get by utilizing employer's contribution on top of yours. Number 3 is the tax advantage. If you invest in a pension pot, that is happening from your pre-tax income. So if you make a gross salary of 50,000 a year and you decide to invest 5%, that's £2,500 that you will invest without having to pay tax on that income. And the second benefit of the tax is that it does lower your tax burden. So if you are a higher tax bracket income earner, let's say maybe 100,000 or above 125, and your tax rate effectively has become 40 or 45%, you can lower that tax burden by increasing your contributions to your pension pot. So the more you invest in your pension pot, the lower your tax liability would be for that year. Here is my last bonus tip when it comes to pension pots. Now, when you sign up for an employer-based pension scheme, normally the funds are invested into low to medium risk investments and income-generating assets or appreciating assets. My advice would be, if you are not planning to retire for the next 10 and 20 years, crank that risk up. The more risky investments you invest in, obviously, the higher chance of getting a higher return. Now, this is very dependent on time. The longer time you have to leave your investments invested so you can generate the appreciation and the income, the longer time you have to ride out any downturns that might happen economically and that might affect the asset classes that the pension pot is invested in. But my genuine opinion is, especially if you're in that early stages of your career and you have quite a lot of time ahead of you to invest, invest in as high risk as you are comfortable with tolerating. Me personally, I am invested in 100% stocks at the moment, and I would leave it there at least for the next 30 years. As this is giving me time to ride out any economic downturns, it is also giving me enough time to triple my investments, if not anymore, because on average, if you have between 7 to 10% income, it is taken between 7 to 10 years to double your investment or whatever you have been contributing so far. So, my general advice is have that risk out and get rewards. Again, disclaimer, this is not a financial advice, this is just what I'm doing and what I'm comfortable with doing myself. The only downside for investing in a pension pot with your pre-tax money is that when you are ready to retire and when you are ready to use these funds for your income, you don't know what the tax rates will be in the future. So this is the only downside investing in a pension pot, is that we don't know if the rates will be lower or higher. So we are running the risk of having a higher income tax rates in the future. And the second account that you need to start investing is once you have set up your pension pot and you have started contributing to that, and then you think to yourself, oh, I have maybe 100, 200, 500, 1,000 pounds extra every month to invest in something else. My all-time favorite, stocks and shares ISA. I can't stress enough how lucky we are to have this multiple tax advantaged account here in the UK, and how sad it is that so many people don't know how to utilize it. And it could literally be life-changing. So stocks and shares ISAs are tax-advantaged accounts where you can invest in income and appreciating assets without any tax burdens. Normally in the UK, if you invest in stocks and shares or REITs or any income providing or capital appreciating assets, you do have to pay capital gains tax. What capital gains tax is, for example, let's say you have invested £2,000 in Apple stock, for example. However, 5 years down the line, the stock is now worth £10,000. On the difference that you have made, e.g. 10,000 minus 2,000, on the gain of 8,000, you normally have to pay a capital gains tax. And in the UK, that would be between 20 to 45%, depending on the level of income that you would have when you realize that gain. So this is a very big tax savings. And second is when you decide to withdraw the funds. So for example, when you decide to sell your assets or investments and you decide to use the funds as your income, you normally have to pay income tax. However, you don't have this with the stocks and shares ISA. So yes, you are investing with your after-tax money. So you are investing with the salary that you receive in your bank after you have paid all of your taxes, but you don't pay any other taxes at all, no capital gains tax and no income tax. This also plays like a little bit like an insurance, because we are already taxed on this income and we don't know what tax rates might be in the future. They might be lower, they might be higher, but the income or the appreciation that you will make by investing in an ISA for like 20, 30, 50 years will offset whatever you might have lost, let's say, if the tax rate was lower in the future. Stocks and shares ISAs are my favorite investment vehicles, just because they are so tax advantaged and you can utilize all of the gains and appreciation and income that you can generate by investing through a stocks and shares ISA. If you have the self-control of investing and being consistent in an ISA and not touching it like I used to do and withdrawing it every few or so years for different purchases and different things, I would even advise to max out your ISAs a lot more, like contribute to your stocks and shares ISA a lot more than you would contribute to your pension pots. The tax-free amount that you can invest every year in an ISA is £20,000. So even if you start with as little as 50, 100, 200, and you know what, if you're living at home and you can afford to invest half of your salary, then just do it and use your ISA to set yourself up literally for life. Majority of investment platforms now offer stocks and shares ISAs. Again, I sound like a broken record, but my two favorite platforms are Vanguard and Trading 212. The downside of investing in a stocks and shares ISA with Vanguard is you either have to invest a lump sum of 500, like you need to start off with a lump sum investment of £500, or you need to set a direct debit of minimum investment of £100 every single month. If you cannot afford to start with that much, my next favorite platform is Trading 212, which does offer majority of the Vanguard ETFs and index funds, I believe, and you are not restricted with the minimum amount of investment that you need to provide. E.g., it does offer fractional shares, so if you are only able to contribute maybe 20 or 50 pounds, you can still do that. I do have a link down below to sign up for Trading 212 if you don't have an account already, and we both get a free share, which again is free money, so why not utilize it? This is the only two accounts that I would set up, and I have set up for myself if I didn't know where to start with investing. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below which accounts do you prefer, or which investing platforms do you prefer, and how much do you contribute in your ISA.